भगवते उत्तमा श्लोके भक्त भवति नैष्ठिके कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय गौरंगा। Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for today's Bhagavatam class, part of Bhagavat Life program. We are reading from 4th canto, 29th chapter. We're going to start from the 70th verse. Let's do a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. Again, the question was asked by Prācīnabarhi in text number 59. Iti veda vidāvādah śruyate tatra tatraha karma yat kriyate proktam paroksham na prakāshate. The expert notes of the Vedic conclusion say that one enjoys or suffers the results of his past activities, but practically it is seen that the body that performed the work in the last birth is already lost. So, how is it possible to enjoy or suffer the reactions of that work in a different body? On text number 60 to 79 is a subject matter where Nadman is responding to this question of Parachini Bharishad or Bharishad, where he's saying, where he's describing about the mind's role in transmigration. So text number 60, now when he said, gross body is not the real you, gross body is just an instrument. Subtle body is also there, which is responsible for transmigration. Then text number 61, when the gross body is lost, then that is called as body of Preta, where living entity is only with the subtle body, and that's the time we have ghostly experience. Then text number 62, how does transmigration happens? What happens at the time of death? Our plan making, our plans, our karmatmaka buddhi, if we still have some plans, then it gives us another opportunity. It gives us another birth. You can mute everyone. It gives another birth. So let's text number 63. How do we understand the state of the mind? The phase is the index of the mind. One can understand one's mental position by how he engages his knowledge acquiring senses and working senses. I'm not discussing about the lessons, I'm just reading the highlights of the verse. Text number 64. So, what are the evidences of past life? One evidence of our current life is we have taken this birth because we have this nature of plan making, and the nature of mind is always keeps making plan. And unless this desires are fulfilled, plans are fulfilled, this will continue on. And the conclusion was, why don't we start making plans for Krishna so that we rise above it? Now, what is an evidence for past life? Text number 64, Nārada Muni says, dreams are the evidence of past life. When you go in deep slumber, and then from your mind, the deeper layers of your past memory are randomly picked up or based on your karmic reaction, they're picked up, and that's how you get to experience certain things in your dream. The mind is a storehouse of various thoughts and experience. And then text number 65, the mind cannot concoct anything. You might see a strange dream, but it's just an kind of, what do you call as, merging of two different, two different incidents and creating a new incident. But both of them separately have happened in the past. So mind is a stockpile of past desires. Now, text number 66, the mind indicates past and the future bodies. According to the influence of the modes of matter nature, if the mind is acting as Sattva-guna, Udvam Gachanti, Sattvataha. So you go to higher destination. And if your mind is influenced by Rajaguna, you stay in the material, you stay in the earthly planet. And if your mind is influenced by Tamaguna, then you go to hellish life, hellish planets, or lower species. So like that, mind indicates the past and future bodies. And then text number 67, 68 was again continuation of the concept of dream. Strange dream combination that described the principle was mind is a recording device. Whatever happens, whatever we do through the working senses, whatever we experience through the knowledge acquiring senses, and whatever the mind thinks, is all gets recorded in the mind. And then text number 69, where Nādani said, Krishna consciousness is the only way by which you can burn the stockpile of past desires. Krishna consciousness is the way where you burn the stockpile of past desires, and we also purify the current desires or the future desires, like that. And now we'll begin our discussion from text number 70. This is a recap of what has been discussed so far. Naham mameti bhavoyam purushe vaivadhiyate यावत् बुद्धि मनोक्षार्था गुणाव्यूहो हि अनादिमा नाहं ममेति भावोऽयं पुरुषे वैवधीयते यावत् बुद्धि मनोक्षार्था गुणाव्यूहो हि अनादिमा नाहं ममेति भावोऽयं पुरुषे वैवधीयते यावत् बुद्धि मनोक्षार्था गुणाव्यूहो हि अनादिमा not aham I, mama mine, iti thus, bhavaha consciousness, I am this purushe and the living entity, vaivadhiyate is separated. Yavat, so long. Buddhi, intelligence. Manaha, mind. Aksha, senses. Artha, sense objects. Guna, of the material qualities. Vyuha, a manifestation. He, certainly. Anadiman, the subtle body, existing since time immemorial. So this false ego, aham mameti, I and mine, are considering the body in all. This verse says, Nadmani, after saying that Krishna conscious is the way of purifying and destroying all past sinful desires or the current sinful desires, Nadmani says, your subtle body will not change or your misidentification will not change unless the subtle body is purified. Translation, please.
As long as there exists the subtle material body composed of intelligence, mind, senses, sense objects, and the reactions of material qualities, the consciousness of false identification and its relative objective, the gross body, exist as well.
So this is again the subject matter of this is all what has been discussed elaborately by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the first chapter primarily. So what is happening is so subtle body. Why don't you draw the diagram? It's a simple flowchart, just for the sake of picture. So the subtle body desires or manifests the desire, then subtle body to gross body. Gross body fulfills those desires. And those of you who have read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you'll see what happens. So subtle body manifests those desires, gross body fulfills those desires. And nature is the moment you fulfill your desire, there is another kutam. Kutam bijam. So which means there's another desire. Subtle body gets more entangled into the material life. And then again, gross body, so it becomes a cycle. So what is the origin of cycle? What is the origin of the cycle?
Reason.
The subtle body. You can't do much about desire in that way, what has been discussed here. What is the origin is? Subtle body. So these verses Nadmani is trying to emphasize paying attention to gross body is okay, but more important than paying attention to one subtle body. How do you pay attention to your subtle body? Huh?
Contemplation.
What contemplation? What is your contemplation? Our contemplation will also depend on our state of mind.
Giving right inputs.
Giving right inputs. But our mind is dirty because of past and full desires. Those right inputs, we are so expert in finding faults in those right inputs. Does people find faults? People that found fault with Srila Prabhupada? People find faults with Srila Prabhupada's disciples. There are so many emails goes around here and there. People hear the lecture and they still find faults. So what is the value of your right input? Because somebody's subtle body is so corrupted, contaminated, what would you do? And in that you do contemplation. What contemplation will happen? So what do you do? You might be thinking, यार कल तक तो यही कहा था, आज सब कुछ बदल दिया. कल ही तो बोला था राइट इनपुट होना चाहिए, contemplation करना चाहिए. No, but I said something more than that, which is not getting into your head. Because probably yes,
Introspection.
introspection, yeah, contemplation, introspection. I don't know. I sounds synonymous to me.
That we discuss sadhu sangha and all.
Sadhu sangha. Yeah, I mean, Kanishta, as Acharya is right, his greatest challenge is sadhu sangha, because he'll commit aparadha in sadhu sangha. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, Kanishta primarily should be associated with deities. Madhyama should be associated with sadhus and prachar. At least with deities he'll get purified, because the rules and regulation, na? But if you put him in touch with the sadhus, he'll commit aparadha. How many of you agree? How many of you agree? If you put in touch with sadhus, let's say if you put in association of, let's say, spiritual master directly. I was giving an example yesterday. That he was saying, "Hey, Maharaj, jayenge kab yahan se?" You know, that could be a joke. Just that's a very private conversation. That could be a joke, meant. But how many of you agree if Kanishta is put in a sadhu sangha, he will commit aparadha? Raise your hand. Those who understand this, at least you have some understanding about mind, our conditioned nature. So where is the hope for sadhu? Or where is the hope for Kanishta then? Holy name, what will he chant in this state? How many of you agree when mind is so, agitated, chanting amplifies those emotions? Raise your hand. When you're agitated, chanting, your practice of meditation further amplifies those emotions. So is chanting helping now? I mean, what hearing? I mean, when mind is agitated, you are hearing your mind only.
In morning program we discuss deity worship, and if someone is just hearing or watching, he will get the same result.
Yeah, hearing and watching. Yesterday we were discussing the same result. Okay. Exposing senses as much as possible to spiritual engagement. What else?
Honoring Krishna Prasadam.
Honoring Krishna Prasadam. All right. One thing for sure, person is going to gain weight. Honoring Krishna Prasadam. True. और आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर्स इन पुणे से यार तुम हरे कृष्णा वाला ना बहुत बहुत ऑयल और घी खिलाते भक्तों को सब ISKCON के भक्त मोटे मोटे हैं हट्टे कट्टे हाउ मेनी हैव नोटिस इवन इफ यू लुक एट योर फोटोज बिफोर यू केम टू द सेंटर एंड आफ्टर कमिंग टू सेंटर एवरीवन गेन्ड वेट हट्टे कट्टे लगते हैं मे बी खुशी के कारण मुस्कुराते हुए हट्टे कट्टे हो गए people gain weight because they're happy also so that could be one reason, no doubt about it. I mean, because when you're happy you eat more. And when we're disturbed, we can't eat much. So that could be also one reason. Okay, what else? What else? So whatever you said is not wrong. Everything is correct, but it's not sufficient. It's not sufficient. What else?
Asatsanga.
Give a person. This guy loves Asasanga. Because he likes. How many of you agree, let's say your mind is agitated towards somebody. And then you find somebody whose mind is also agitated in similar way to that person. That association becomes, ये मेरा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त है, सच्चा मित्र. How many of you agree? You will say this is my best friend. Why? Because he blasphemes the same way as I'm blaspheming that fellow. We have a common enemy. Kanishta has a very interesting colors, huh? Yes and no. What else?
Studying Srila Prabhupada's books, Prabhu.
Read Prabhupada books. Okay, very nice. Oh yeah, I didn't see the online devotees. I forgot. I was focusing with all of you. Prabhupada books. Okay, so let's car park this question. We'll see what comes out. Okay. What could be that one additional thing? Okay, so we just read text number 70. So idea is, write on the bold letters. Idea is focus on subtle body. Focus on subtle body. So focus on subtle body means what does subtle body contains, right? Or mind plus intelligence plus false ego. So if you wish, we can do that exercise now, or maybe after a few minutes, or just remind me. Remind me that I wanted to have some exercise here. Okay? Just this much write down. Focus on subtle body is what Nādmani is emphasizing literally from the very first verse. So it's because the state of the subtle body we get next destination. It could be come back to Godhead, or it can be a conditional life. So remind me that I wanted some question exercise here to be done. We'll see that. Okay, text number 71. Please go ahead with the translation.
When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faint, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss, at that time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with, with the cell.
Please read the first few lines of the purport. Foolish people.
Foolish people deny the existence of the soul, but it is a fact that when we sleep, we forget the identity of the material
So
body.
first point, we all have an experience of spending some time in this body itself where we don't identify the body. Nādmani is putting a point like this. Nādmani is saying you do that every day. When you go into deep slumber, you don't identify the body. You don't even recognize body exists. That is point number one. Continue. Which means if you don't recognize, if you don't identify, which means there should be something more than that. Next.
And when we awake, we forgot the identity of the subtle body. In other words, while sleeping, we forgot the activities of the gross body. And when active in the gross body, we forgot the activities of sleeping.
So in sleep, subtle body becomes active. What becomes active means mind. And that's how the dreams happens. So in sleep, your subtle body becomes active and you dream something because past experiences are brought up. But when you wake up, you don't remember anything about the subtle body. But while you are asleep, you don't remember anything about the gross body. So through the principle of nullifying, Nādmani is saying, therefore, in sleep you don't remember gross body, while you're awake you don't remember subtle body. There has to be something which is still going on, which is beyond the gross body and subtle body. Then this way he's proving you're beyond both of it. That's the point. Please continue reading.
Actually, both states, sleeping and waking, are creations of the illusory energy. The living entity actually has no connection with either the activities of sleep or the activities of so-called vacant state. When a person is in deep sleep or when he has fainted, he forgets his gross body. Similarly, under chloroform or some other anesthetic, the living entity forgets his gross body and
Forgets, not forgot. Yeah,
forgets his gross body and does not feel pain or pleasure during a surgical operation. Similarly, when a man is suddenly shocked by some great
Yeah,
loss,
that's a very pretty example. I recently had an experience. I was also thinking of the same thing. If I'm just the body, then at least I should have some experience, nah? And if all the pain and suffering is at the body level, why I didn't have any experience? That is what is Prabhupada is mentioning here. Similarly, under anesthesia, the living entity forgets his gross body and does not feel pain or pleasure during surgical operation. So interesting. Similarly, when a man is suddenly shocked by some great loss, he forgets his identification with the gross body. So there was this gentleman. Eckhart Tolle. Somebody can Google his name quickly. Eckhart Tolle. He wrote a book which became, in the field of spirituality, viral. He was a French guy, if I'm correct. Eckhart Tolle, right? Yeah, Eckhart Tolle is his name. Back in 2000, I believe, or late 90s, he wrote a book. It was such a profound concept. Even within Vaishnava communities at that point in time, this was discussed. I mean, not all, but some were discussing. I was part of those forums that time. So that's how I got introduced to this character. Um, you can just, once in a while, you get a chance, just for the sake of FI, you can just watch his video. You might not have that experience while on the online platform, but when he would speak, he would immediately raise everyone's consciousness, literally at least to Satoguna, and he'll speak very slowly in a very deep voice. And the energy that he would create at that point through emitting through his sound vibration, everyone would be captured literally. And people began to get greatly influenced by him. I don't know where is he now. It's been a long time since this topic came. So I was reminded of. So this guy have never practiced any spirituality. This guy has never practiced any yoga. And suddenly, overnight, he had this transformation. He wakes up and he is on a different level of consciousness. So he writes, I've read some of the books in the past. So he writes what had happened with him. He was going through a lot of problems in his life. He was a regular, ordinary French guy, if I'm correct, he was from France or Sweden, whichever country in Europe. He was going through a lot of challenges, relationship problems, job problem, and whatnot. He was planning suicide. He was having such a miserable life. And for him, it was just like the end of life had come, and he was just like, okay, nothing is working out for me. I will commit suicide. With that, imagine somebody's thinking about this, how much emotional crisis will be going, and it's not just, you think 2 minutes before anything you do it. It goes on for days and weeks together. And one day he had the kind of, you can say, the pinnacle of emotional crisis or mental crisis, what has been mentioned here. And with that, going through emotional crisis, he dozed off, kind of slept off. And when he woke up, he speaks. When I woke up, I didn't had any experience of suffering. I didn't had any experience of identification with joy. He just kind of came out as if a different person. This is being mentioned here. Similarly, when a man is suddenly shocked by some great loss, he forgets with identification with the gross body. Now, in case, as we understand the principle of karma, he might have done some practice of yoga or meditation in the past, whose results just kind of fructified at this moment. And generally, for those who have had certain spiritual touch, often it is seen they go through a lot of trials and tribulations in the next life so that they can come back to spirituality. It is not always easy going for them. It's not a smooth journey. To say that they're born in a rich family and everything, even if that's the case, then they will have some family crisis, some health crisis, some life financial crisis. You can take up any and every example that you know of any acharyas for that reason. They've gone through some shock. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had shock after shock. Sant Tukaram, belonging to such a rich family, suddenly one day lost everything. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, belonging to such a rich family, suddenly lost everything like that. And then they are brought, and because that shock kind of, disconnects them from what is going on in the material life and brings them to spiritual life. So something like that is mentioned here. So shock kind of sometimes shakes up our false identity and misidentification. Please go ahead.
At the time of death, when the temperature of the body rises to 107 degrees, the living entity falls into a coma and is unable to identify his gross body. In such cases, the life air that moves within the body is choked up, and the living entity uh, forgets his
Forgives his identification with the gross
gross body.
Because of ignorance of the spiritual body, of which we have no experience, we do not know of the activities of the spiritual body. And in ignorance, we jump from one false platform to another. What does it mean by identifying with the body? Quick answers. What does it mean by false platform? What does it mean by identifying with the body? How would we put it? Huh? Me and mine, what else? Yes? We engage, what else? That is external. What is more subtle, which engages us in that? What does mean by false platform? What does it mean by false platform? Misidentification.
We consider
I am male, I am female, I am son, I am daughter, I am eldest son, I am youngest daughter, I am this Agarwal, I am this Baniya, I am this Jat, I am this Brahmana. This is what it means. Living with that identification, this point of control of proprietor, oh, that is a contamination of the that is there. But how does it manifest? With these strong identities. The point I'm trying to raise is this is what it means by becoming conscious and choosing our action. How should we behave? We can't just continue living in the condition. It's of course it takes a time, but at least become conscious about it. You know. Otherwise, how do we? What does it mean by it? All right. So that's the thing over here. Text number 72 now. Now, this thing which we had discussed before, very beautiful example is given here. गर्भ वाले अपि अपुष्कल्या एकादशविधं तदा लिंगम न दृश्यते यूनः क्वहां चंद्रमसो यथा. Translation, please. We discussed this yesterday. I'm giving an example of His Honor's Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj meeting a toddler. Go ahead.
When one is youth, all the 10 senses and the mind are completely visible. However, in the mother's womb or in the boyhood state, the sense organs and the mind remain covered, just as the full moon is covered by the darkness of the dark moon night.
Papat, first few lines.
When a living entity is within the womb, his gross body, the 10 sense organs, and the mind are not fully developed.
So kids look so innocent. Why they're so innocent? Why kids are so innocent?
So
Even
Babaji
Hitler,
told yesterday.
as a child, must be innocent. There was recently very interesting this thing post. I was part of one कहते हैं news publication when this Ukraine and Putin Russia war had happened. So there was a news post about Putin's childhood. So it was it was part of USSR, and Putin's family was bombed, or wherever the neighborhood it was bombed, and people of what we call as Ukrainian faith, whatever it is, they had saved Putin's mother and Putin as a child, and there was a photo of that which was published then, and there was a whole article about it. He said, "This is Mr. Putin." Child soaked with blood with his mother, rescued by people against whom they're fighting. And then the article was now the same child. If you look at the photo, you'll feel like, oh, kitna bichara hai. Okay, I have nothing against Putin. I'm just making a context here in the sense of there is a war going on. I'm just saying, when you look at the child, and the article was, this was a child, and the article was, saying that wish nobody would have saved him. There was a kind of a language. But looking at the child, who could have sensed that somebody would become like this? The child always looks innocent, which means, well, it was not true in the case of Vena, probably. Not sure about Kamsa and Ravana. They had a particular purpose to fulfill. Could be true for Hitler also or whatnot. Daud, Ibrahim and whatnot. So why child looks innocent? Why child looks innocent? He appears innocent. He acts innocently. Why? Because he's innocent? No. This is not how spiritualists see. That is what the first few lines, that's what Mother is saying. That's what first few lines is saying. Because his gross body and subtle body have not fully manifest. You're not able to perceive those desires. When the body would be able to fulfill those desires, the subtle body would begin to act like that. So that teenage years are the time when you get to know, Kamsa banega, Mama banega, Bhanja banega. Kiske path pe chalega. So as a spiritualist, you don't get too much caught up with kids for that reason. Oh, kitna cute hai. What cute? This is bodily identification. You to say that, oh, kitna bhola bala bacha hai. What did Maharaj said? Well, he'll be a pure devotee or devotee will get to know when he becomes teenager. He didn't cut the tile and he was like, oh, chota sa bacha, chu 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 chu. Aisa kuch nahi kara Maharaj. This is again the same thing, we see the body, we see this. No, it doesn't look like that. That's the point here. Innocent and non-innocent, we'll get to know later on. Please read. In a dream, okay, this we already know what happens in a dream kind of a thing when you become a teenager. All right, I hope this point is clear. The activities of the subtle and the gross body depends on how developed conditions are. Similarly, the sense of the living entities are there, but they only become active when the gross body and subtle body are developed. Unless the senses of the gross body are developed, they will not act on the subtle body. Similarly, because of the absence of desires in subtle body, there may be no development in the gross body like that. So there is a time for all of that things to manifest. Text number 73. And we saw that in Bhakti Samad Sindhu. Rupa Goswami talking about Bijam, Falan Mukha, Kuta, and Prarabdha. Those kind of things has been described. Text number 73. So, so the point here is, don't think I was pure as a child and I became contaminated later. The contamination was always there, but dormant. So it was always there. As long as we are in this world, it is always there. Now, text number 73. Please continue text number 73 translation. Continue.
When the living entity dreams, the sense objects are not actually present. However, because one has associated with the sense objects, they became manifest. Similarly, the living entity with underdeveloped senses does not cease to exist materially, even though he may not be exactly in contact with the sense objects.
So which means, because externally, this is similar to what third chapter, verse number 6, Krishna says, Karmendriya samyamya yaste manasa smaraha. Yaste manasa smaran. Indriyatam vibunatmaha mityachara sarchate. And for this reason, it's very important for us to understand in context of what Krishna is saying. Why he was not encouraging Arjuna on the path of renunciation. You are Kshatriya, you are conditioned to act in such a way. And he was not somebody who could be trained easily now into path of renunciation. He was 89-year-old. We're still 2025, we can still change our direction. But not at that again. Only that you live your life fully and then you gradually go to Vanaprastha and then you go to the sannyas. Not just suddenly one day you decide you can quit like this. Not because you have willfully made a choice, but because you just don't want to fight. That's not going to happen. So that's what Krishna said. Arjuna, because somebody does not engage his senses, because somebody says, okay, I will not engage. I will not engage with sense objects. I will not perform an action. That does not indicate that person has become liberated. This is what this verse is saying. Please read all the translation again. And that is what Krishna says in third chapter. He says this quite a few times. His subtle body will still be engaging even without sense objects. How subtle body can engage without even sense objects? Even subtle body can engage even without sense objects. In dream.
Prabhuji, by thinking.
In dream. The subtle body will engage even in the dream when there is no sense object. And the example is, I don't know if we can, we all would have that experience, but I don't know if we can recall an incident, how and when it happened. At least I can't recall at this point of time. Until the gross body had become grown up enough to fulfill certain desires, let's say in context of relationship with an opposite gender. At least I used to play. We used to have, we had a big society on a high rise. We had all bungalows, and outside on the street, we all would play. Of course, boys will play separately, girls will play separately. But because everyone had sisters and all that, sometimes they'll come and there'll be some hide and seek, few games. Never, ever any other thought had ever come. Suddenly, what you call medically a teenage years, suddenly you begin to see them in a different light. And why was I making this point? Yeah, the point I was making is, suddenly we begin to get dream of an opposite gender. Suddenly we begin to get a dream. It's not that we had not been dreaming. We had been dreaming all this while. Suddenly we begin to get a dream of opposite gender, because now body is there to fulfill. But the sense object is not there. That's the point here. Similar, the living entity with undeveloped senses does not cease to exist materially, even though may not be exactly in contact with the sense object. Let's say we put that boy in a boys' college or boys' school. He's 15-year-old. He has not seen any girl. Would he still get a chance to dream or not? He would still, from the past life experiences. That is the point here. And that's the reason Krishna is saying, Arjuna, if you think if I don't perform an action, you'll become liberated. but your mind is always performing in action. You're always thinking. So inactive senses is also an activity because mind is always functioning. Prabhupada writes in the purple. Read the first few lines.
It is sometimes said that because a child is innocent, he is completely pure. Actually, this is not the fact. The effects of fruitive activities reserved in the subtle body appear in three concurrent stages. One is called bij, the root, another is called kutasatha, the
Kutam or kutastha,
the
which is
desire,
desire.
and another is called phalonmukha, about to fructify. The manifest stage is called pararabdha.
These are the four stages of karma, we can call it. Kutam, Bijam. Bijam, Kutam, Phalan Mukham, and Prarabdha. And then Aprarabdha. And from Aprarabdha, again, Bijam comes. This is all Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu like this. Continue.
In a conscious or unconscious state, the actions of the subtle or gross bodies may not be manifest, but such states cannot be called the liberated state. A child may be
Very
innocent.
important. A child may be innocent, but this does not mean that he is a liberated soul. You can say, oh, कितना मासूम, कितना सरल है, ना ही झूठ बोलता है, ना ही द्वेष करता है, मुस्कुराता रहता है. You seen kids? They're in their own world, happy, joyful going in life. So it looks like, may look like, yeah, looks like this is liberated stage. So Prabhupada is saying, no, that's not. This has not manifest. Everything is held in reservation, and everything will become manifest in due course of time. So my question is, ठीक है अभी हम बड़े हो गए हैं, 15 साल के हो गए हैं, तो क्या सब कुछ मैनिफेस्ट हो गया है? अभी क्या बचा है? क्या सब कुछ मैनिफेस्ट हो गया है? तो अभी क्या बचा है? अब तो you have the body which can fulfill all the desire that you want, then what is remaining? अभी राहु की दशा बची है. No, it's a fact. अभी राहु की दशा बची है. और जब राहु की दशा आती है, तब वो कंटेमिनेशन पैदा करना शुरू करती है. That's the time the sinful propensities gets aggravated. And that's the reason Rahu Dasha mein the best course of action is just like we say Ekadashi. Ekadashi is not actually a pious day. Ekadashi is actually a sinful day. So why Ekadashi has been treated like this? Anamat khao, sin. Every other day an is good, but that day becomes sin. So therefore, to counteract the effects of the day, what has been said? Take to spiritual life. Similarly, to counteract the effects of Rahu, the only catch with Rahu Dashana, एकादशी एक दिन की होती है चली जाती है, उसमें तुम आधा दिन सो के निकाल दो तो ठीक है. राहु की दशा सालों साल चलती है, 18 साल. मैं तो 7 साल बोलने वाला था, मैं तो मिनिमम कहने वाला था, 18 इज मैक्सिमम स्टैंडर्ड. मतलब आएगा तो 18 साल तक लपेटेगा. और आप जो भी हो, हर एक के जीवन में आने वाला है. ब्रह्मचारी के जीवन में भी आता है. एंड इट इज ऑफ्टन सीन. सो जो सबसे ज्यादा क्रिटिकल फेज, कलेश फेज, ट्रांजिशन फेज, जिसको ग्रेजुएशन डे कहते हैं ब्रह्मचारी आश्रम में, वो मैक्सिमम राहु दशा में ही आता है. It's not. so in this context, so suddenly things will begin to, mind will begin to think something and all that because it's influenced. It's influenced because of astronomical positions. Okay? Everything is held in reservation. Everything will become manifest in due course of time, even in the absence of certain manifestations and bodies, objects. So, those who understand astrological things, or even if you don't understand, one thing is for sure, Rahu Dasha will come. Some of you might be undergoing in Rahu Dasha, or if not, it will manifest. So the point is said is, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj will often say that when it is a good time, prepare yourself well to face the worst time. So if you want to pass through, let's say, technically a Rahu Dasha means it will agitate you towards material life. It will not encourage you towards spiritual life. It will create a lot of challenges in life, a lot of relationship conflict, all the sinful desires will begin to manifest and whatnot. So to be able to withstand that, if we have create a conditioning of practicing spiritual life, then that conditioning will allow us to continue practicing spiritual life. Those all kind of wild thoughts will not come, But if you have not taken the opportunity of the good time and Rahu Dasha wasn't there in this context, then you'll have a great challenge, difficulty I could be surprised if somebody starts spiritual life in Navadasha. Now, if he starts spiritual life in Navadasha, it would be only because Pandit ji ने कहा है अगर दुखों का निवारण करना है तो मंत्र उच्चारण करो. That could be one reason, not willfully he or she will do that. Okay, let's go to the next verse.
74.
74, yeah.
Translation. The five sense objects, the five sense organs, the five knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind are 16 material expansions. This combine with the living entity and are influenced by the three modes of material nature. Thus, the existence of the conditioned soul is understood.
And then this jiva becomes jiva bhuta. When this happens, it's called a jiva bhuta. Jiva means spiritual, bhuta means matter. कहाँ पे कृष्ण जीव भूत का उल्लेख करते हैं? ममैवांसो जीव लोक जीव भूत सनातना. ममैवांसो जीव लोक. So he's my amsha, but because he's caught up in this creation, he has become Jiva Bhuta. So what is the meaning of Jiva Bhuta? This is the meaning of Jiva Bhuta. Text number 75.
By virtue of the processes of the subtle body, the living entity develops and gives up gross bodies. This is known as the transmigration of the soul. Thus, the soul becomes subjected to different types of so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness.
First purport, this kind of sums our discussion so far. And here Prabhupada quotes, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. You'll understand the importance of that shloka here now. Let's have somebody online would like to read. Anyone online would like to participate? You can read the first paragraph. Or in the meantime, you're getting ready. I'll read now. Somebody is saying something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Apurva
please go
Govinda.
ahead. Yes, Apurva.
According to this explanation, one can clearly understand that originally the living entity was as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his pure spiritual existence. However, when the mind becomes polluted by desires for sense gratification in the material world, the living entity drops into the material conditions as explained in this verse. Thus, he begins his material existence, which means that he transmigrates from one body to another and becomes more and more entangled in the material
Hare
existence.
Krishna. Wake him up. He's dozing off. Yeah, continue.
The process of Krishna consciousness, by which one always thinks of Krishna, is the transcendental process by which one can revert to his original spiritual existence. Devotional service means always thinking of Krishna.
So,
Man mana
Krishna says this, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji maam namaskaru. Man mana, engage your mind. How will you engage mind thinking about Krishna? Planning, seva. Prabhupada therefore emphasized so much at service at this stage. It is not natural for us to think about Krishna in our conditioned nature. It is unnatural. So if it is unnatural, how many of you agree even while chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can't think about Lord? Maybe once in a while, okay. Maybe while sitting in front of the deities, then maybe we're thinking about, even then we're thinking about, your mind is planning. I need to, buy this dress for deities. I need to, but you're not actually naturally thinking about the Lord as much as you would naturally think about your family members for whom you have affinity, because there is no affinity right now. So man mana, so I believe this has been established so far, is clear for all of you. What man mana means for us right now, engaging in service, taking some responsible service for which I feel that I need to do. Either as an obligation, as a matter of platform of duty, or as out of fear. If I don't do this duty, I'll get chastised. Whatever it is. Yena tena prakarena manah Krishna kashev. By hook and crook, we should engage our mind in the service of the Lord. It could be out of fear, it could be at the platform of duty, but it should be that I should think about how can I serve the Lord. That is the point. And this stage, that's the only possibility when we do so. And therefore, preaching mission has its own importance. And therefore, ISKCON leadership keeps on organizing. Abhi Gaur Purnima, to Chaitanya Charitamrit Marathon. Krishna Janmashtami, this marathon, fundraising marathon. Then कहते हैं क्या है, उसके बाद आता है भागवतम मैराथन. क्या है वो? भद्र पूर्णिमा भागवतम मैराथन. Then December marathon. पूरे साल भर भगाते रहते हैं. Why भगाते रहते हैं? Because somehow it may feel like a pressure, at least at our level, it's a lot of pressure, but it is just, at least at the level of leaders, still they have things to worry about. But what about the rest of the community? Somehow, yena tena prakarena, to push them, engage their mind in the service of the Lord. Think about it. Otherwise, if you don't do it, just thinking about in our current capacity, just by chanting, just by doing some deity worship at home, things will work out. I would humbly request all of you who do this, who have, everyone would be doing this deity worship and all that. Think about out of 24 hours, how much time is absorbed in material affairs and the challenges. Just like, that second canto, first chapter, Nidra Kriyate Nakatam, that shloka where Sukadeva Goswami says, how does he spend the night and the day? Night is spent in enjoyment, and daytime is spent in working hard, thinking about how to maintain the family affairs. We can think about it. How much time ever goes about thinking about how to maintain my family affairs? It doesn't happen. It's just a gradual process. So, manmana bhava mad bhakto madayajimam namaskaram. Yeah, and for that reason also Prabhupada instituted this Shastra study courses. At least you'll sit for Shastra study courses. You'll be forced to hear because I have to write an exam. Because you have to write an exam, then you'll be forced to study. So this is necessary to do Manmana Bhakti. And for all of you, I believe many are already part, but for all the youth who have been around, I would say you take it seriously. Join some course somewhere, if not here. You want to do online, do it online. But join some course where you're forced to study. Because at least I'm completely disconnected what's happening on the ground in the center. But I don't think so. How many of you, by choice, by will, read every day? I'm talking of the youth here. Read Prabhupada books every day. Where are you going to go? Where do you think you're going? Nowhere. Impossible. You think your life does not have this much time that you can take out 15 minutes or 20 minutes to read Prabhupada books? Okay, let me ask this question. How many of you, after the morning program, have a quota of hearing? You hear for half an hour among youth. That's also not there. Nothing going to happen. Nothing going to change. I'll tell you what's going to happen once you move out of this place for one reason or another. You just become a well-wisher and you will remain a well-wisher. To think that you are a devotee, that you will become a devotee, do you think in your current conditions possible with the kind of family obligation, professional obligation, responsibilities that you have? Is it really possible? And do you think, or do you say, Prabhuji, I'm not able to do because I have no time? How many of you say they have no time? Or how many of you say we have time, but maybe we're not able to do time management properly? Taking out 20 minutes, 30 minutes to read Prabhupada book, is that so impossible every day? How many of you think it's possible? You may not be doing such different thing. How many say it's possible to take out time? What will you do? We are just staying here for some reason. Is bhakti is the reason? If bhakti would have been the reason for you, you would have been practicing bhakti. Outside of morning program, what are you doing? Why are you doing morning program? Think about it. The morning program is enforced. You're not coming because you like to do it. Each one of us are here because it is enforced. And if it is not enforced, nobody would be here. And if you think, Prabhu, no, I come because I want to come. If that would have been the case, then you would have taken out time after the morning hour also to read Prabhupada book or hear Prabhupada lecture. If you can't say you don't have time, how many of you hear Prabhupada lecture? I mean, do you think you're even close to ever be ready for initiation? Of course, initiation is still, the rules are relaxed. But are you ready for spiritual life? This is a state. And this is the situation when you are a bachelor. What do you think is going to happen when you become a family man? So much responsibilities. You're not able to handle one mind. Then you will have another mind to handle. And she is coming from her backlog, her background, her desires, her karmic reaction, her situation. And here Krishna is saying, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Man mana bhava mad bhakto is the first thing. Madhyaji Maam Namaskar is second thing. Offer obeisances, offer respects to me. It's just not possible. So what we have become is, at least we have become a well-wisher. We have become a well-wisher of devotees. We have become a well-wisher of Krishna. But being a devotee is not a joke. There needs to be. Okay, continue. Text number 76, 77. We want to conclude this topic for today. Who is reading?
The
And this is that situation when in our community is known all over the place, that where the leadership have created so many opportunities for reading and hearing. In any forum, if all Pune is acknowledged or credited in any leadership forum is for one reason, either for congregation or for youth. How many reading initiatives or how many programs we have done in the past? How many forums as individually have got involved and created for reading forums? It's so much so that we have even identified you may be the leader, given the syllabus to read, what not has been done. No leader has time for all this to get involved in the lives of the devotees to do so much. So much has been done. Reading clubs for youth has been planned also. For congregation has been planned also. I have no idea what's going on because nobody sends report or update क्या चल रहा है अपनी दुनिया में है सब. But at least I did my part. Even after all that which community have done, at least leadership have thought about what are you guys doing. अब जब तक डंडा नहीं होता ना, वो बात होगी. जब तक सिर पर डंडा नहीं पड़ेगा तो नहीं करेंगे. Live your life. Do you think you're going to go anywhere with this? And that becomes very much visible. What's bhakti has been cultivated inside, it becomes very visible in action. One particular action. What is that one action which indicates a level of bhakti cultivated? I'm just giving tips how you understand the person. Yes, somebody saying online?
Prabhuji, Prabhu Govindas. Chanting, Prabhuji, chanting. How attentively.
Okay. Chanting. What else? Chanting is enforced. So you can't really figure it out. What else? Chanting is enforced? 16 माला करो दीक्षा नहीं होगी. अब सोचो ऐसे लोग की दीक्षा करा लोगे, दीक्षा के बाद क्या करेंगे भगवान जाने. And particularly in Grahastha ashram, whom are they accountable to actually? Whom are they reporting to? I mean, even in Brahmachari ashram, I've seen they only come when they have a problem. Otherwise, people are living their own life. In Grahastha ashram, then they keep on sorting about themselves. They keep on life. You come for a program, you come for a class. So therefore, we at least make a rule. You want to take some leadership role? Like for example, for TMC, I published the note. Who can be qualified? What are the prerequisites for leadership? At least I had to do that. Imagine having anyone in the TMC role. What would they do with the community? At least they need to set an example, have a visible morning program. I should know that you're attending morning classes. What's the meaning of it? Taking a leadership role. So what is that one physical action will happen if we are on the right path in bhakti? In our capacity, whatever time we have, we are able to cultivate bhakti, that one thing will happen. Spurti, adaha, inspiration. Inspiration for what? To serve. Why are you doing bhakti? Why are you chanting? What is the prayer in chanting? Anshul Prabhu? So that spurti should be for seva. Eagerness for seva. Willingness to render service. When His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj talks about gratitude, what he says, a very famous lecture he gave in Birla's house, 99 or 2000 lecture, you can hear the gratitude. His first opening lines, gratitude is merely a sentiment if it does not manifest in action of seva. If we say we have gratitude towards somebody, we will be willing to tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam, Rishabdev say. What do you mean by tapasya? So human form of life is meant for tapasya. Seva becomes that tapasya. To do service, to extend ourselves, that becomes the means. And we know that is going to purify us. All right? I mean, you see, everything is very scientific, everything is logical. And who understands this, you can decode it, and you can look back at the person, looking at the person, you can understand what's going on with the person, where he or she is situated. And then when we act on this, then subordinates say, देखो हमारे leaders biased हैं. I've heard so much quite a lot about our leader, means my leader also. And I'm pretty sure that could somebody say. In fact, I've heard some people saying about me also, I'm biased being North Indian, South Indian. I give more opportunity for North Indians, not to others. You see, so okay, that's okay. The figment of mind would act. People would say at their level, but it's not that way things happen. You know, why would somebody do that? Our goal is to engage everyone in the service of the Lord. That person making this comment at his place is okay, because what will he do? Somewhere something has to find. At Kanishta say that's okay. That's not to be taken seriously. But I'm just saying, why would leader do so? Why? Just like yesterday, you were hearing that I believe Mansi, yeah, she had shared that Adishampru's clip. So yesterday afternoon, I believe I kind of sent a message. Please don't hear that part. Hear the whole question answer, because a very important question asked. And that question, then Prabhuji was mentioning about. And so many times people ask the question, why certain people has been given so much freedom? Why certain people has been given so much empowerment? Why others are not given? And Adishampur was explaining that, how it happens, why it happens like this. So, I mean, because one gets it, the other don't get it, leader is biased. It doesn't work like this. There's a whole science. And that's what I'm trying to help you understand through these. Please understand, so you think in a certain way how it happens. Okay, where were we? Text number 76. Now, beautiful analogy, caterpillar analogy. So this is quoted in the seventh canto also. The caterpillar transports itself from one leaf to another by capturing one leaf before giving up the other. Similarly, according to his previous work, the living entity must capture another body before giving up the one he has. So there are two ways caterpillar analogy is given. This is one, moves from one leaf to another. This is about moving from one body to another body. How does transmigration happens? Caterpillar becomes a butterfly because it's constantly thinking about the flying creature, because he's worried they will attack him because he cannot fly. He's stuck. So he's always worried about some flying beast will come and attack him. So he's so much thinking about the flying beast, he becomes a flying animal. He becomes a. This is mentioned in the seventh canto in the context of Prahlad Maharaj Singh. This is because the mind is a reservoir of all kinds of desires. So we have discussed this again, the same thing. A very interesting point Prabhupada mentioned in the last, not the last, the middle paragraph. Prabhupada is speaking about coma. Many times question is raised, so you can mark this purport for coma. So second paragraph of the purport. Material nature is so strong. Found it? Anyone online wants to read? The material nature is so strong, very strong, and the material modes forces one to accept another body. Somebody found it here? Please read out.
Material nature is very strong, and the material mode forces one to accept another body.
Brother, your voice is not clear. You got to fix your input device. I can't hear you clearly.
Material nature is very strong, and the material modes force one to accept another body. This force is visible when the living entity transmigrates from a superior body to an inferior one. One who acts like a dog or hog in the present body will certainly be forced to accept the body of a dog or hog in the next life. A person may be enjoying the body of a prime minister or a president, but when he understands that he will be forced to accept the body of a dog or a hog, he chooses not to leave the present body. Therefore, he lies in a coma many days before death. This has been experienced by many politicians at the time of death. The conclusion is that the next body is already determined by superior control. The living entity immediately gives up the present body and enters another. Sometimes in the present body, the living entity feels that many of his desires and imaginations are not fulfilled. Those who are overly attracted to their life.
So, the following lines, which we're going to read, gives us understanding why in our culture, body is burnt and the importance of burning the body. Please read.
Those who are overly attracted to their life situation are forced to remain in a ghostly body and are not allowed to accept another gross body. Even in the body of a ghost, they create disturbances for neighbors and relatives. The mind is the prime cause of such a situation. According to one's mind, different types of bodies are generated and one is forced to accept them.
So, 2, 3 points here about life after death. First is the body is burnt because over the period of time we become so attached to the body. We know that if we quit the body, then what would happen? So, nobody wants to leave the body. Therefore, in our culture, to set the soul's destination forward to the next destination, the body is burnt Na rahega bas, na bajegi basu. That's a simple concept. So body is not there, what can the subtle body may do? And then there's the whole purificatory process. The purificatory process is done what we call as therapy. Some places it is on 10th day, some places on 3rd day, some places on 13th day. 13th day is generally, according to Garud Puran, because that's considered the time of duration of his travel from this plane to the another plane. So that's effectively, and this is done in our culture so that he can get freed, purified of all those reactions he have done, and maybe he will get less punishment if he has done a sinful action. That is first thing. Second thing, you all would have heard of Brahma Rakshas. How can a Brahmana may become a Brahma Rakshas? How can a Brahmana may become a Rakshas? Tulsidas ji, he was pointed to, the ghat that goes for Brahma Rakshas. You remember in Kashi? Not Tulsidas ji, right? Yeah, Tulsidas ji. Yeah, Tulsidas ji. Yeah, Hanuman ji. But how did he got to Hanuman ji? Prior to that, when he was kicked away, when he was running away, Ram, 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 he lied underneath the tree, and the tree said, the ghost spoke. Then he said, where can I find? He said, well, you go to Kashi, you'll find Hanuman first. And that's how it had worked. What is the meaning of Brahma Rakshas? Brahma means Brahmana becoming a Rakshas. How can a Brahmana become a Rakshas?
Prabhuji,
You heard of
I've
this
heard
word?
that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Prabhuji, I've heard this that when a Brahmana commits suicide, he becomes a Brahma Rakshas.
Yeah, that is okay. I'm asking, how can a Brahmana become a Rakshas by nature? Brahmana is by nature is gentle. Why would he become of a Rakshas pravati? What you're talking about is Brahmana becoming a ghost. And that is true for everyone. But why call him Rakshas?
Guruji,
Yes. How are we going through?
Prabhu, if the Brahmana misuses the money which is meant for temple or deities, then that person becomes Brahma Rakshas, is what I have heard.
What did you say? Huh? Brahmana cheats the temple, he becomes a Rakshas. कौन से पुराण में लिखा है ये?
He
Or
misuses
this is your understanding?
no, Guruji, I've heard it in a class given by Amogrila Prabhu long back.
क्या उनका ना मुझे विश्वास करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है, वो इतना मजाक मारते हैं ना, तो समझ नहीं आता मजाक है सच्चाई है, so you'll not take such people seriously what they say, because
Prabhu, karma ki baba shah, right? I don't
those
know,
are
am
too
I
casual,
audible?
they can say anything. Huh?
Is my voice clear now, Prabhu? I've just changed the mic.
We have discussed this point before. It's just an FAQ I'm asking. Why you're not able to connect the dots? What's so complicated? See, it doesn't matter you're a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Does Brahmana have desires? He's not a liberated soul. If he has a desire, but he does not have a body to fulfill, so what will happen? When he becomes a Preta, does Preta is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? No. When he is in a Preta body and now he cannot fulfill his desires, for how long can you remain thirsty? For how long? In fact, in the Shastra it said, if there is no food to eat, vegetarian, even a Brahmana is allowed to kill an animal, eat. Now, if from that drishtikot, this is Rakshas behavior. So when there is nothing to eat, then you can do that. What imagine you don't have everything to eat, but you don't have the body to eat. So when Mother Shama Vallabi, I believe she was making a point, a Brahmana who commits the suicide becomes a Brahma Rakshas. Why he becomes a Brahma Rakshas at that point of time? Because he has left his body before. You understand the concept of suicide. And he has 30 years, 40 years to go, but he doesn't have the body. Now, it doesn't matter how godly you are or whatnot. Your desires are haunting and killing you. That's the reason that person becomes Rakshas. Till the time he gets to the next destination. That's the whole idea. So it's not about Brahmana. So, but Brahmana becomes Rakshas, particularly in the case of suicide, because he has prematurely given up his body. That's the idea. And that's the reason she was saying that. But this completes the answer, why it happens to him. All right. Text number 78. Prabhupada is talking about the mind only. The last few lines of the purport. The mind is the cause of such an exalted position. What is that? Reading the last paragraph. After understanding Krishna as he is, one can become eligible to enter Krishna Lokha and associate with him. Therefore, in the 12th chapter, verses 13 to 20, please write as a homework for all of you. Please read out those verses. Before we enter Krishna Loka, we have to Krishnized our consciousness. And Lord Shri Krishna speaks about what it means to Krishnize your consciousness in 12th chapter, verses 13 to 20, where Krishna is speaking about Vaishnava Sadachar, Vaishnava qualities. The mind is a cause of such an exalted position. The mind can also get a body like those of dogs and hogs. To absorb the mind always in Krishna consciousness is therefore the greatest perfection of human form of life. Text number 78. Please go ahead quickly.
As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we can create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses, and while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul.
So this is the unending cycle of samsara. We already discussed how subtle body has desires, gross body fulfills the desire, subtle body gets one more desire, and then gross body fulfills the desire, becomes cycle. This is called as samsara chakra. Samsara chakra etasmin jantur ajnanaha mohitaha. That's the point being explained in this purport. Brahmayam sukham cha dukkham cha bunkate sarvatra sarvada. Chittaketu Maharaj says like this. Okay, text number 79. So finally, conclusion after explaining all this thing, what Jiva or Jiva Bhuta should do, because we are right now Jiva Bhuta, we are not Jiva, we are Jiva Bhuta. What should a Jiva Bhuta do? Text number 79. Atastad apavadartham bhaja sarvatmana harim pashyam tad atmakam vishwam Stati utpati apyayayataha. Yes, translation please.
You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord, to be inhalated by this perfect knowledge. One should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord.
Last paragraph of the purports.
When we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord, become Krishna conscious. We understand not only Krishna but everything related to Krishna. In other words, through the Krishna consciousness, we can understand not only Krishna and the cosmic manifestation but also our constitutional position. In Krishna consciousness, we can understand that the entire material creation is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, maintained by Him, annihilated by Him, and absorbed in Him. We are also part. We are also part and parcel of the Lord. Everything is under the control of the Lord, and therefore our only duty is to surrender unto the Supreme and engage in His transcendental loving
this is the
services.
whole conclusion, the last few lines in Krishna consciousness. So what is the conclusion of Puranjana's story? This whole, which is spread across several chapters, is just to bring to us to this understanding. In Krishna consciousness, we can understand that the entire material creation is created by the Lord, maintained by Him, annihilated by Him, absorbed in Him, which means surrender to Krishna. You can write on 3 points. What is the conclusion? I'm just putting into a flow chart. Surrender to Krishna. Or you can put in a column, 2 columns. Surrender to Krishna. Next column, do not try to control. You cannot. Second point, do not try to enjoy, because we will suffer. ये ही संस्पर्श जाप होगा दुख योनिया एवते आदि अंतंत कांतया नातेषु रमते मुदः. Third, do not try to become God. We'll get covered over by Maya. Devi Shagunamai Amamamaya Duratya. Or else the opposite is Mahatmanas Tumam Partha Daivim Prakritim Ashritaha. If you try to become God, you get covered by external energy. When you try to serve the Lord, Mahatmanas Tumam Partha Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. They come under my internal energy. Simply surrender and serve is the perfection of human form of life. And this completes the lesson part or the what Nārada wanted to communicate to Puranjan. Text number 80, Maitreya says, Maitreya Vacha Bhagavata Mukhayo Bhagavan Narado Hamsayor Gatem Padashaya hi amam amantrya Siddhalokam tato agama. The great Maitreya continued, the supreme devotee, the great saint Nārada, thus explained to King Prācīnabarhi the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, living entity, and the living entity. And after giving an invitation to the king, Nādmani left to return to Siddha Loka. And that brings us to a conclusion of our discussion. So I have given one question. What was that question? It's time to answer that. Anyone remembers that question? I said you remind me at the end of the lecture. We'll say that.
Hare Krishna, bro.
Exercise. What was exercise?
Roji, it was about neophyte.
What is that?
It was about neophyte. That how the one thing that neophyte can do to progress in.
No. It was
Yes,
about
thank you. Yeah, thank you. I remember now. So the question was, what one thing that neophyte can do to make progress? And what was I thinking about that? Focusing on the subtle.
Roji, deity worship, that point, while speaking about deity worship, that he should
focus on subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego. Three things.
Oh, yeah. So we said, yeah. So now the question is, so the text number 70 said, don't pay so much attention to the gross body, focus on subtle body. What needs to be purified is subtle body. I mean, what is the point of purifying this body? There are some means of purifying, that's okay, bathing and whatnot. So now I just want all of you to write this. Write on your answers for how would you take care of, what would you do to take care of your mind, intelligence, and false ego? That's the question. So mind, intelligence, false ego is what comprises subtle body. What we need to be purified, what we need to take care of is subtle body. How will you take care of subtle body? Which means how will you take care of your mind? How will you take care of intelligence? How will you take care of कहते हैं आपका false ego? Write down answer for that. According to you, what will you do? What to do with the mind? What to do the mind?
Mantra में.
इतना सब कहने के बाद अब तो clear होना चाहिए. Mind is planning. Mind means purify the mind. What to do with the mind is purify. How to do is planning for Krishna. But what to do with the mind? Write down first thing. So you get it, memorize it. What to do with the mind? Purify it. What to do with the intelligence? Sharpen the intelligence. What to do with the false ego? Redirect the ego towards Krishna's service. What to do? How to do? How to purify the mind? What to do is clear at least? Please don't mix it, at least after so long. Remember these things. Once again, what to do with mind? What to do with intelligence? What to do with the false ego? Redirect in the service of the Lord. All right. How to purify the mind? Yes. Okay, dovetail. First thing is dovetail. So mind has its karmatmakam buddhi, mind and intelligence are nature to plan. So take up responsible service. How to purify the mind? Cheto darpanam. Attentive chanting. And that largely is a morning program thing. And second thing is because dovetailing. We have a nature to plan. We cannot give it up. So plan for Krishna's service. Take up responsible service. Again, responsible service, not the service that you like to do it. Service is always done towards somebody. Our service to the Lord is not done directly, it's done through parampara. So you're doing maintaining home duties, okay. or there has to be some service towards community. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, at the time of initiation, when he'll take an interview, he'll ask, what service do you do towards the community? Because you have to be accountable. When you're doing at the home, who's asking you? To whom are you telling what you're doing at the home? Let's say one particular day you didn't do deity worship. Who will ever get to know? So that doesn't work out like this. So how to purify the mind? How to purify the intelligence? Again, same thing. Karmatmakam buddhi, mind intelligence, engage in planning for the service of the Lord under guidance. And how to purify the intelligence? Through Shastra study. How to purify the intelligence? Through Shastra study. And for help us do that, therefore, Prabhupada gave us everything. Prabhupada instituted even the Shastric courses. Prabhupada didn't leave anything. What we're trying to do is just trying to implement those things. We're struggling to implement that. And we're struggling to inspire our audience to follow that. That's the only struggle that we have. We are not adding anything new. And how to purify the ego?
You work under someone itself.
Redirection is what to do. Redirection is what to do with the ego. How to purify. What to do with
to work under someone's instruction.
Physical
Hare Krishna.
service, using our senses.
Yes. How to purify is rendering service under guidance. Purify ego. Then ego will be forced to surrender. So how to purify the ego? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya. Upadeshanti te gnanam gnanina tattvadarshina. This verse does not end at initiation. जी हमने गुरु का शरण ले लिया है, so we are under the guidance. It doesn't work like that. So this is how it works, and this is the whole sum and substance. All right, so I'll pause here. Thank you for all your kind attention. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone has any quick question or comment? We can take that. I hope this.
I put my question on the chat box.
Yeah, this would have given you some understanding how this whole process works. And why Srila Prabhupada designed in such a way, why our acharyas designed in whatever way we have. All right. Let's talk to you. Yeah, what's the question? There's some question in the chat box. So, okay, I can see the chat box also. Hare Krishna, dovetail chanting plan. Please repost the question. There's so many messages.
Prabhu, can I ask the question?
Yeah, please go ahead. Which video was circulated? We don't seem to have got any video. Which video? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was a lecture of Radhesham Prabhu yesterday about that. Was a video about it. Yeah. What was it? Whose question? Yeah, Mother, somebody was saying to ask a question. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, regarding service, just one doubt. See, there are many devotees I know, including my mom, who would love to do service, but they're very scared to take up responsibility unless someone asks. Not about fear of responsibility, but just they have a feeling that, if I ask, someone may feel bad. It may not be appropriate. So besides they're not initiating, they will also not allow us to initiate. They'll tell, keep quiet. Let them tell. So how do we actually handle them, like in a new environment? How do we actually explain to them service is something which ISKCON is looking out for? They can always initiate. How do we get to explain this to them, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Mother, you were too fast.
Sorry,
can
Prabhu.
you just say that again? I missed some part of it. Yeah, say that again, please.
Sorry, Prabhu. So for related to service, some of us know that, in our temples, we welcome service. So we are familiar. But for instance, there are many devotees who would love to serve, but they are very scared to initiate. Classic example, my own mom. She will be very scared
to initiate, matlab, ask for service. What do you mean by initiate?
Ask for service. Yeah, basically ask for service because they always feel that they may be put down or whatever reasons they have. So,
okay, all right, got the point. Okay. See, point is when it is about seva, the principle is given. Tat vidhi paripatena paripashnena sevaya. What does it indicate? You have to be part of some forum where there is a culture of hearing, question answers are going on. When you become part, so you have to be part of a community. There has to be somebody with whom you're having this relationship where you accept somebody as a leader or as a teacher. Where does the seva point is being discussed in Bhagavad Gita? This is a verse, Tat vidhi pranipatena paripashnena sevya. So unless you have that system, how will you get a seva? Will you give seva to anyone and everyone?
No. Got it, Prabhu.
So simple
Clear.
thing. So if you want to encourage anyone to seva, that person has to follow this thing first of all. Join the program, join the class, build relationship. And once the relationship will be given a seva opportunity, isn't it? And it's not that seva opportunity is not given. I know there are so many preaching programs goes on. You can always come, but even you will not give seva to somebody who you do not know. Or even if you'll give seva, you'll give seva which is so insignificant for which you don't even have to trust that person.
Got it, Prabhu. Perfect.
All right.
Clear, Prabhu. Very clear, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Also, Brahma Rashishi, I did not really understand, Prabhu. I understood they become ghosts, but then why Rakshasa name? Sorry, Prabhu. Can you explain that?
Because doesn't matter you're Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, because you don't have a body, but you still have desires. I mean, even Brahmana wants to eat. It's not he's beyond the basic bodily needs, but he cannot fulfill the desires. So that's the reason. Brahma Rakshas means now, because they're moving as a subtle body, and to fulfill the desire, they have to haunt somebody so they can fulfill the desire. That's the reason. And among the Brahmanas, who generally those who have committed suicide, that's the reason the point came. Those who commit suicide, only they become ghosts. And whoever becomes a ghost for that reason, ghosts are never going to be nice people. I saw one movie in my childhood where a ghost was shown as a friend. Ghost can never be a friend. Even if ghost is your own mother and father.
Oh, okay.
Because once that they have attained to that situation, then they don't identify. I mean, again, please tell me, if you do not have water to drink and you're thirsty, for how long can you remain thirsty? Do you know the concept of Pitra Dosh?
Yes, Prabhu.
Now, Pitra Dosh happens because of what? Pitras, na? Our forefathers, they're coming and haunting and creating trouble. So what to speak out of an unknown Brahmana, So once you get into the Preta body, life is a miserable life. It's a miserable situation. Okay, that's the point, brother. Fine.
Clear, Prabhu. So Rakshasa is just a statement. It's not exclusively for Brahma. So it can be Kshatriya Rakshasa or Vaishya Rakshasa also.
Everyone. Why did he said Brahma Rakshas, which indicates a Brahmana has become, and when they become, they are more powerful than others because, so depending on their Tantra Vidya, whatever path they've taken, they can cause far much more trouble than even a Kshatriya Rakshas because he doesn't have a sword to attack with. But Brahmanas, they have access to subtle power, so they become more dangerous. So among all the Bhutas and Pretas, which are the ones which are most dangerous is said to be Brahma Rakshas. More dangerous than vampires also.
Prabhu, even by murder can one become a ghost or it's only through suicide?
Through murder, that's generally a karmic reaction.
Got it. Sure.
Okay. There could be karma is intricate to understand, but generally it would be a karmic reaction. All right. Okay. Nothing else now? So thank you everyone for your attention. Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada ki